Griffy and Grey live in a savanna next to a desert somewhere in Africa. They don't know the location exactly themselves if you ask them. Griffy is a giraffe and Grey is a zebra. They live in the same area, and every now and then they meet at the same watering hole, as they do today. Griffy is chewing on a green leaf and is lying in the shade. The giraffe asks the zebra, "Tell me, have you had anything exciting going on today? Or do you have a story to share with me?" Grey has been wondering why their friend Frida has not visited them in such a long time. "Listen, Griffy, do you know where busy Frida hangs out? I haven't seen her in a long time," Grey says. Griffy finishes chewing his leaf, swallows it, and replies yawning, "So, when I stopped by the termites the other day, they told me that she had flown to the big city. She's training for the Falcon Flying Championship and flies around all the time." Griffy and Grey looked at each other, knowing that Frida is very good at observing. They need to ask Frida what she's been up to and see her once she returns to the savannah. "Let's go to her family tree and leave her a message that we want to know what she was able to observe in the big city and that she should visit us when she's back," Griffy says. A few days passed before Frida returned to the savannah. She found the message from Griffy and Grey on her family tree. After returning home, she had to rest for a few hours before visiting Griffy and Grey. Frida had trained hard and picked up many impressions during her training flights. She had been flying to different cities for many years, and she discovered something new about people there each time. She noticed that, unlike the animals in the savannah, people have an unsatisfying urge for things, speed, and change. Every time Frida came to the city she had been to before, the town had expanded, the houses were built higher, and the meadows disappeared. Although Frida liked speed, her competitions were all about speed. She felt and realized that it was a frantic speed that drove people in the city. Over the years, people were getting increasingly agitated. Or was Frida simply slowing down? Frida simply didn't know, but she knew that Griffy and Grey were always curious, and so she told them the next morning about the little fireflies that people had recently started holding in their hands and putting to their ears. As they often do, Griffy and Grey were lounging around at their regular spot in the savannah, waiting for an adventure to find them. The moment Frida landed next to them and the two friends noticed her, they jumped right up, and Grey nearly babbled a nod into his tongue because there was so much to ask. "I'll take over for you, Grey, okay?" Griffy requested. "Frida, why don't you sit here with us and tell us all about your experiences? Big cities are fascinating for us animals living out here in the savannah. Probably, from your point of view, they are even more exciting as you are up in the air and you see completely different things," Griffy said. Grey added that Griffy's head, at 3 meters height, was a significant advantage over small animals anyway. "I observed that houses are multiplying, people are walking faster, and in general, a lot is happening that we as animals can only observe but not understand. When I came to the city a few years ago, only a few people had some kind of firefly in their hands. I thought they needed these glowing animals to help them find their way in the streets at night. But this time, almost every tall person, less the short persons, had a firefly in their hand, Frida explained. Yes, but why did they become so helpless that they need help from firefly? Grey asked. Do they have poor eyesight or do they need light? I thought they have street lights in the city. No, Grey. Even in daytime, they need the special fireflies. Sometimes they put the fireflies in their pocket, but no long time passes, then they take it out and pet their firefly again. They hold it while walking, while standing, or while sitting. And sometimes people collide in the street because they are busy massaging their fireflies, Frida explained. Griffy, have you ever massaged a firefly? I have not done that. Do you know what happens when you do that? Grey asked his friend, who sat frowning in the shadows, shaking his head. No, I've never massaged a firefly. But if more and more people are doing it, we should take a closer look. We haven't been in town for a while. Let's start tomorrow morning. I think an adventure is waiting there for us. Frida wished them both good luck on their adventure and flew back to her family tree to rest further and prepare for another training flight. Whenever the two friends leave for one of their adventures, they have a lot going through their minds. Griffy prepares in silence, while Grey is exuberant and full of anticipation. Grey, to understand what is happening, we must observe humans with all our senses. We animals can't understand why people do what they do. First, we observe what they do with the fireflies. We don't ask why yet. Okay, have you understood, Grey? Why? But yeah, understood. People always find an explanation and justification for their actions, Griffy continued. Quite often, they are not even aware of their actions and the effects of their actions. We can observe them, and if we have observed long enough and closely enough, we can ask them. Grey nodded and agreed with Griffy. Grey had observed people changing and affecting their surroundings before, and was curious to see what purpose the magic fireflies served for them. The two friends had not been away from the savannah in many months, enjoying their life and freedom in the savannah. But when they got close to the city, they felt how much they had missed exploring and enjoying an adventure. The pace of the city had quickened. Cars were going faster, trains were louder, and Griffy and Grey were dazzled by all the twinkling lights. People paid less attention to the two animal friends from the savannah, who walked along the sidewalk from the big bridge that crossed from the suburb directly into the big city. Only now and then a car honked at them. It was night, and not a lot of people were on the street. Grey, what will we do when we arrive on the other side? Griffy asked. We'll find a park, and we will rest for a while. I'm sure animal friends are living over there, and we will ask them all our questions about what the fireflies are about, explained Grey. Once they arrived in the big park, it was easy to find as it was the only green area in the big city. Griffy and Grey wondered about all the lights, paths, and fences around the green meadows. Fences did not exist in the savannah, and to Griffy and Grey, fences were an incomprehensible invention of humans. They had to search for a while until they found a patch of meadow with giant trees where the fence was no longer intact, and some animals were gathered underneath. What are a giraffe and a zebra doing in the city? A little weasel yelled out. And I'll tell you right now, we're not accepting any new members into our gang. Do you understand? Griffy bent down to look at the weasel. Hello, weasel. That's fine, but can your gang answer a question for us? We are looking for the fireflies that people hold and massage. Grey and I want to watch the humans. Where can we do that from? Can you help us? Asked Griffy. Listen, those aren't fireflies. Those are magical colored boards. Don't you have those in the savannah? We do have fireflies in the savannah, yes, but we don't massage them, Griffy replied. Not the fireflies, the board. Anyway, you can lie under this shrub over there. From there, you can watch the walkers without seeing you. Just be quiet so they don't notice you. We don't want them to find our gang hideout and drive us away again. Understood, Grey replied. Griffy, so humans are not massaging fireflies, but magical colorful boards. What's wrong with humans? Have they lost their minds? We better rest and see tomorrow. The sun will set soon again, and we'll go to sleep with the sun. Griffy and Grey woke up together with the sun, just as they did in the savannah. It seemed to them that the people in the city never slept. They heard no silence. Cars could be heard screeching, and voices without bodies echoed loudly through the streets. Grey, they say people's best friends are dogs. A dog is definitely a good observer of people. We should befriend one, Griffy explained. They walked through the park, and after a short while, they found a small dachshund taking a nap next to a woman on a park bench. The woman wore dark sunglasses and only red clothes. Her ears were covered with white flaps, and she was talking as if she were talking to herself. Hello, my name is Grey, and I'm from the savannah outside of the city. What's your name? I'm Normadix. What are you two doing in town? The dachshund inquired. We are always looking for an adventure, and we heard people are massaging fireflies in the city. We've already found out that they are not petting or massaging fireflies, but they are doing this to magical, colorful boards, replied the giraffe to the dachshund's question. What do you know about that? Listen. That woman over there, she lets me stay in her apartment. We've been living there for a long time. I watch her for many hours daily, but never understand her. The boards she's holding, she's always has it with her. She uses it to talk to other people and takes pictures of herself or me. Sometimes she asks the board about the weather in town, and the board answers what the weather will be like. She watches movies, on the board and listens to music. When we go for a walk, the board tells us the way. When she has to pay in the supermarket for food, she uses the board to pay. I could give you many more examples. But Every once in a while, she can't find the board, and I'll tell you. And she cries. She cries, and she screams, and she screams. She screams, "Where is that damn thing?" And I hide. Griffy listened carefully to every word, as Nomadics had a funny way of talking. "Do you think that the human woman wants to talk to me and answer some of my questions? Could you ask her? Please, Nomadics, please ask her." I will ask a question her. I will ask her the question. Yes, I will help you. Nomadics had promised to ask the woman and suggested meeting Griffy and Grey at the park bench in 2 days. "Griffy, I'm so excited to hear what the human woman will explain to us. We have been watching people for days now, and their handling of the magic board is amazing. They never let it out of their hands, and if they put it away for a few moments, they immediately grab it again as soon as it flashes. And the magic board constantly flashes or rings. Who do you think controls this huge number of boards? Griffy, do you think the boards know each other? Or do you think that they are friends?" Grey asked. "I don't know yet, Grey, but we are here to find out, and Nomadics will help us. When I asked him how he talks to the human woman, he told me that she holds the board out to him, and then she can read what Nomadics had parked into the board. Then she speaks something into the board, and suddenly the board barks so that Nomadics understands what the woman is trying to tell him. They call it a translation app," Griffy explained. Silently, they waited for Nomadics to arrive and watched the hustle and bustle of the city. Although they didn't speak, the friends knew what they were thinking. Life in the savannah is simple and slow. In the savannah, days had the same routine, and every day was the same. The days here in the city were never the same, and there was always something going on. Every day seemed to be a day for an adventure. But if you can have an adventure every day, is it something special? Nomadics walked beside the woman and became faster and more excited when he caught sight of his friends. Nomadics' life was exciting every day, but this was special. "Are these your friends from the savannah you told me about? They really do exist. In the beginning, I thought that the translation app needed a new update." The human woman smiled kindly and waved at Griffy and Grey. She had dark hair tied back in a ponytail and wore red from head to toe. "Hello, Griffy. Hello, Grey. This is Helena. She will hold out the board, which she calls a phone. She calls it a phone for you, and then you can ask your questions. She really wants to pet you guys. Is this okay? Is this okay?" Nomadics shared with his friends. "I don't understand why humans feel the need to pet us, but I don't mind," Grey indicated. Nomadics nodded to Helena, and she petted Grey and then Griffy. "You like the color red, don't you? In the savannah, you would make the lions angry by the red. Remember that if you should ever visit us," Grey enlightened Helena. "Thank you, Grey. I'll keep that in mind. Nomadics has asked me to answer your questions about the phones. Fire away. I'll be happy to answer them for you." Griffy looked over at Grey to tell him with a glance who was leading the conversation with Helena. Griffy bent down to the board and asked, We have been watching the people in town for the last few days. Almost every person, even the little ones, always have a board or the phone in their hand or on their ear. Explain to me, why do they use it? Helena took a deep breath, exhaled, and began. In the past, people used the phone only to make calls or write short messages to each other. But every day, new possibilities were added. Suddenly, we could use the phone to take photos, listen to music, or ask for directions. The phone tells us what the weather will be like, or when the next bus will arrive. We can order a cab. With the phone, we can book a trip with the phone, or we can watch a movie with the phone. The phone is our companion in the urban jungle. The two friends were overloaded with so much information and amazed at what the little magic board could do. The way I have met people, they have a self-image that they always know everything better and can do everything better anyway. And suddenly, they ask a board for help? Grey asked in amazement. Helena smiled gently and had to think about Grey's question. She didn't know when humans had started handing over so many everyday human tasks to the board. You know what, Grey? I get scared when I can't find my phone. I feel anxious and don't know how to do this or how to do that. For example, the phone has a calculator, and I haven't calculated things without the phone in years. I wonder if I can still do it. I need the phone to know when the next bus from my house to town is. I can't text my friend that I'm dropping at her place without the phone. Helena explains. But Helena, just go by her house and knock. Easy. No need to be afraid, Griffy suggests. No, Griffy. You don't do that. You must announce yourself. It has become the way with people since we got a phone. Without a phone, I can't communicate with Normandix either. I'd have to guess what he wants to eat or what he wants to do. While the three animals and Helena sat in the park, many people walked by. They all had their boards in their hands. The phone is your companion on adventures in everyday life. Without a phone, you would be too scared and you wouldn't go on an adventure, Grey asked. Honestly, I'm never without a phone. The phone makes my everyday life easy, and I don't have the confidence to do everyday life or an adventure without the phone. My everyday life is fast-paced, and I must get a lot done. The phone supports me in that. And now that you ask me about it, it makes me sad that it is the way as it is. Helena, let's have an adventure day together in the big city. Griffy and I are masters at adventuring, and together we can do it without phones. I dare you. Then how are we supposed to communicate with each other if we don't have the translation app? And what if we can't find our way back? It's so easy to get lost in the big city. Griffy, you have to understand. I'm scared. Helena had her doubts, but she could sense that she needed an adventure, despite all the anxiety. And she sensed that Griffy and Grey were real experts at adventuring. All right, I'll go with you. When do we go? Helena asked, with some anticipation and courage in her voice. With huge joy in his voice, Grey shouted, Helena, now!
Adventures rarely begin planned. Put your phone behind the sleeping place. You can pick it up tomorrow. Helena's eyes widened, and she was speechless, but Normadix beamed at her with a joyful look. He was looking forward to a day of adventure. The group agreed to communicate with eyes and gestures only, but they had to put in a few dry runs before heading out to their adventure in the big city. The group stood in front of a blackboard in the park. Printed on the board was an old city map, faded by the sun and washed out from the rain. Helena drew the way to the big park with her finger, also known under the name Lung of the City. That was their destination. Griffy and Grey studied the path carefully, memorizing important corner points they had to pass. Helena was nervous, and unconsciously she kept reaching into her pocket to take out her phone, but it wasn't there because she'd left it at the sleeping place. Normadix noticed her behavior and barked at her not to worry. Helena didn't understand the barking without the translation app, but she slowly started to sense that Normadix had barked to make her feel safe. Helena wanted to take pictures of corners of the city she had never been to. But without her phone, she had to take the pictures with her eyes and capture the moment, remembering information. Helena noticed that her tempo slowed down. She had to be more mindful and look at the street names and where to turn. Helena sensed how different and strange she felt. The people beside her were walking fast and frantically. Her mindfulness took away her bustle and hustle and speed. Griffy and Grey, as adventure experts, continued, taking the right turns and navigating the group towards the park. For them, it was a piece of cake. Once they arrived at the park, a group of small people rushed up to pet Griffy and Grey. The big people took photos with their phones and shouted to the little people, "Laugh at me, look at the camera, laugh, smile, cheese." Helena watched the spectacle and she had to laugh out loud. Instead of enjoying the moment, petting the animal, or being present with their children, the big people took photos with their phone. Helena knew that the pictures had a short shelf life and, at most, would be used in a photo book for the oldest people in the family. Griffy looked at Grey, for he realized how thoughtful Helena had become during their walk. Grey, Helena realizes that shared moments have a long shelf life if you feel and perceive them with all your senses. It seems as if the phone has made her forget that. Helena lifted Normadix up close to her and hugged him tightly. Through gestures, she explained to the two friends from the savannah that she was now going to start her adventure alone in the urban jungle. Grey, are you ready for us to return to the savannah? We've now figured out why the humans are holding the phone. Yes, I'm ready. And yes, because they think that the phone helps them and they need the apps. But they forget that if they use all their abilities and all their senses, they wouldn't need so much help. They waved to Normadix and to Helena and returned to the big bridge they had crossed into the city. Back in the savannah, the two friends needed to rest. Sleep would help them to forget all about the speed, the hustle and the bustle. In the city, They learned to walk faster and talk faster. Everything had to be faster and more efficient. That they could unlearn again in the savannah. Out here, they had to be attentive and mindful because no phone would tell them when a storm was imminent. They had to perceive it and know the clues that indicated a storm. After a few days, they visited Frida at her regular place to tell her about the adventure in the city. Grey began to babble, and Frida interrupted him. "Hold on, Grey. Grey, what is a phone?" "Frida, they are those little fireflies you saw from up in the air. It's not fireflies, it's called a phone. And if any animal ever gets the idea that we need phones too, we will chase it out of the savannah, okay?" Griffy laughed and said softly, "I have no worries about that ever happening. No animal would ever think of using a phone. We trust our instinct. We trust our abilities. And we train our skills, learn from other animals, and we practice. Then everything will come out all right, even if we are a little slower."